Hello, everyone.
Tonight, we are crawling on hands and knees beneath the floor of a nursery that no longer has walls, no longer has children, and never had windows to begin with. You are here in the dark underside of something that was never quite a home. The earth is cold and soft. Your hands brush moss and stone, then something smoother, flat, buried shallow beneath roots and time. A mirror, but not your reflection, someone else's. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You are not the first to find the mirror, but you are the first to listen to it. The soil hushes as you pull it free, a square of blackened obsidian cradled in twine and fossilized bark. No frame, just a perfect surface that won't reflect the sky. It smells faintly of fern ash and river salt, though there are no rivers left near here. The wood above your head is gone. Only tree stumps remain circling the nursery like old bones, arranged in a ritual they've forgotten how to complete. Some say the first mirrors were pools, and the first pool that ever reflected a face belonged to something that didn't know what a face was. You press your fingers to the edge. The glass is warm. Behind you, the air changes. There is no wind, but something has noticed you. You tell yourself it's just the fan. Above this ground, in a time when grass had not yet won, small two-legged creatures once built shallow nests in the shade of cycads. They laid their eggs side by side in spirals, and the hatchlings sometimes died together in sleep, tiny arms and tangled heads resting in ash, as if waiting to dream. Their bones have been found here under what we now call a nursery mound. Paleontologists once argued whether it was coincidence or intention, whether such clustering was mere disaster or ritual. Some researchers still argue whether anything truly nests in spirals without meaning. You lean back from the mirror, brushing dirt from your palms. There is no clear reason why a piece of obsidian would be here, volcanic glass. This pure is rare, and local strata show no nearby eruption within the last 100,000 years. It should not be here, and yet neither should you. The mirror does not reflect you. It reflects movement. A flicker like someone leaning towards you from behind, but when you turn, it's only the nursery floor pulsing softly with root light and breathless stillness. There's a joke here somewhere about early interior design. Floorboards now 60% ghost. You don't laugh, not because it isn't funny, but because the mirror is no longer cold. It's pulsing, and you're holding it like it's always belonged to you. You try setting it down, but your fingers won't release. The sensation is not pain, it's recognition. As if your hand and the mirror have agreed to something you weren't consulted about. You close your eyes. There is a hum. It's faint, like the sound of wind through pine needles, but there are no pines here. Not for miles. Not in any epoch you've studied. Still it persists, and underneath it the rhythmic tap of something small walking in circles above your head. You open your eyes expecting the mirror to show you the thing above, but it doesn't. It shows you the nursery as it was, before the floor collapsed, before the trees died, before memory unthreaded itself from the bones in the dirt. There are nests. Soft ones made of downy fronds and shredded bark arranged in spirals like constellations set out for tiny gods. And shadows. Shadows that watch the nests but never enter. Not predators, witnesses. Their shapes are long and bent at odd angles like creatures drawn by memory after the details have gone soft. And all around the room, masks. Hung from invisible walls, their faces carved from charcoal and shell, smiling faintly with teeth that do not belong to mammals. One of the masks moves, not with the wind which doesn't blow, but with intention. A slow tilt, a blink, if such a thing can blink, and you realize the eyes are not hollow. Probably just your reflection, you whisper to yourself. It isn't. You finally release the mirror. Or maybe it releases you. It falls flat to the soil face up and the image vanishes. Silence returns. You crawl backward, breathing hard through your nose because your mouth doesn't want to open. You tell yourself it's fine that ancient glass holds heat longer than expected. That obsidian reflects in strange ways, especially if it's aged or cracked or enchanted by whatever prehistoric Etsy witch carved it into shape. That last part was a joke. Probably. You make it to the edge of the nursery mound past the spiral where no moss grows past the fossilized shell shaped like a child's handprint. The mirror stays behind. It hums. And as you rise to your feet, brushing loose soil from your knees, you wonder not for the first time if the mask that looked at you is still facing forward, or if it's now watching from behind. You return the next evening. Of course you do. You didn't sleep, not really. You just lay beneath the ceiling fan, eyes open, thinking about glass and spiralness and the way shadows can watch without moving. You told yourself it was a story, and like all stories, it needed an ending. But not all stories are meant to be finished. Some are mirrors with no back. You approach the mound at dusk. The trees around it feel older than they should. One leans so far it seems to bend in greeting or warning. You brought gloves this time, as if cotton and rubber could protect you from whatever clung to your fingers the night before. The mirror is still there, half buried just as you left it. That part of the story hasn't changed, but now there are small indentations in the soil around it, bird-like, three-toed, a trackway that circles the mirror then vanishes. It wasn't there yesterday. Some researchers still argue whether the tracks of small theropods are evidence of social behavior or mere coincidence. But these prints are wrong. They're too symmetrical, too deliberate. They don't walk, they form a shape, a spiral, just like the nests, just like the old bones. There's a kind of math in that. Or maybe a memory. You clear away the dirt again, and this time the mirror doesn't hum. It breathes. Not loudly, not like a lung. More like the sound moss might make if it had a voice, a low exhale, damp and tired and older than light. When you lift it, you half expect to see your reflection at last. Instead, you see a room made of roots. You blink. It's not a hallucination. It's a vision the mirror holds a scene. You're looking through it, not at Ahmed. A chamber of soil wrapped in root veins with nests pressed along its walls like fossils waiting to hatch. In the center is a pillar, carved with lines, spirals again. Circles within circles, each etched shallowly in a way that suggests claws, not tools. At its base, the same obsidian mirror you now hold, only newer. Brighter, still warm from its first burial. Something moves in this reflection. A creature feathered but not bird-like, small and upright. Its eyes are too round, its face too flat. It regards the mirror as if it were prey. Then it kneels gently and places its hands over the surface in the exact position you did yesterday. The reflection flickers. A mask appears behind the creature, one of the same grinning shells from before. Then it ends. The mirror shows only black. You lower it. Your hands are shaking. You haven't moved. You are still kneeling in the nursery mound, dusk thickening into shadow, but the weight in your chest feels like it's been watching for years. Here's a small comfort. At least you're not the first to see it. Here's another. You might not be the last. There's a legend from the forests of Lang Sun in northern Vietnam about a mirror root that grows downward instead of up. Locals say it can show the shape of your soul, but only when you're buried. The tale ends with someone climbing out of their own grave holding nothing but the root and no longer casting a shadow. You think about that now, not because you believe it, but because it's less frightening than the alternative that some species long gone and feathered once learned to speak through stone and soil, that they didn't leave words. They left reflection. And you, dear listener, are beginning to reflect back. Above the trees are utterly silent. Not even insects hum. That's always the most unnerving part, isn't it? The silence that comes before the real haunting. As if the world itself is holding its breath to let you hear the thing that's walking nearby. Your fan clicks on at home back in your room. You know this somehow. The soft whir of it carries across the mirror. The sound distorts, twists into something almost melodic, a lullaby in reverse. You place the mirror back into the earth gently this time, as if tucking in a child. The temperature around you drops. You see your breath. You didn't before. And as you begin to rise your knees, brushing the edge of the spiral nests, you notice one more thing. There are now 2 mirrors, side by side identical, but you only brought one. This is the part where you're supposed to run. Instead, you kneel again. You touch the second mirror. Its surface is cracked just slightly. And unlike the first, this one does show your reflection, but it's from behind. You see your back, your hair, the slope of your shoulders, and standing just a few inches behind you, the mask. No string, no wall, no face behind it, just the mask. Its smile is sharper than you remember. You turn. Nothing there. Of course. But the mirror still shows it, waiting. Somewhere deep in a paleontological archive, there's a specimen labeled unknown juvenile species possible. Dromaeosaurid. Recovered from a spiral nest, bones intact, face crushed inward as if it had been kissed too hard by stone. The scholar who cataloged it added a final note. Glass fragments discovered in cranial cavity. Unidentified origin, possibly symbolic. Possibly, but you've seen it now. And that makes you part of the story. You pick up both mirrors. Because of course, there are 2 hands. Night has fully arrived, though you wouldn't know it by looking at the sky. Clouds roll low and heavy, silent as seals beneath dark waves, and everything glows faintly blue as if lit from below by something buried and dreaming. You walk back with the 2 mirrors, one in each hand. They feel different, not in weight or shape, but in intent. The left one hums with that quiet, breath-like rhythm you now recognize, while the right one stays silent but alert, like it's pretending not to watch. You do not put them in a bag. You do not wrap them in cloth. Some part of you knows that doing so would break the thread, and you want to know where the thread leads. Your house is quiet. No surprise there. The windows reflect only the inside. Your fan is still spinning, and for a moment, just one, you wonder if it's been spinning for days. You place both mirrors on the desk side by side and turn off the light. The hum returns. It's louder here. Less like moss, more like breath in a long hallway echoing off walls that haven't been built yet. The left mirror begins to glow, a soft pulse. Not light, not exactly, but the suggestion of fire seen through closed eyelids. You sit down, hands in your lap, heart quiet. The right mirror remains still, its surface dark. But you lean closer because that's what we do when we're afraid. We try to understand. And it obliges. This time, the vision does not show you the past. It shows you a room, circular, domed, with walls of red clay. Its floor is painted in concentric spirals of black and white ash, with dozens of masks laid face down in the outermost ring. The center of the spiral is empty, or almost. There is a single set of footprints leading to the middle, small, 3-toed, theropod. At the heart of it, just where the lines converge, a pile of mirrors, all cracked, all facing inward. You blink. The image holds. You shift in your seat and realize the desk is gone. The mirrors are floating in front of you, now suspended by nothing, and the ground beneath your feet is warm clay. The air smells like old fire and fermented leaves. You try to stand, but you are already standing. You've stepped into it. Here's your gentle joke for the moment. You probably should have read the return policy before stepping into ancient reflective artifacts. No exchanges for cursed temporal chambers. You don't laugh. Somewhere above you, something sighs. The clay dome trembles slightly. The mirrors on the floor begin to sing. Not in melody, but in resonance, like struck crystal bowls. Each at a different frequency. Each tuned to a memory, not your own. You try to turn. Behind you, a mask floats in midair facing away. It begins to rotate. It takes a full minute for it to face you. Then in a voice like wind moving through bird bones, you came too soon. It's not a threat. It's not even a scolding. It's a regret. You are not the one we buried this for, it says. But you are the one who listens. You feel the spiral beneath your feet begin to shift. The rings rotate, slowly, softly. A circle within a circle. It's not dizzying, it's comforting. Like being wrapped in an instinct you don't remember having. A prehistoric behavior encoded in soil. There's a real fact you remember reading once somewhere in the back of a field report. Certain species of hadrosaur may have arranged their young in circular sleeping patterns, possibly to conserve heat or as an anti-predator strategy. The spiral may have been a communal memory. A communal memory. That's what this is. You're walking in a dream made of bones and breath and reflection. Not your dream, theirs. But you are allowed to borrow it. In the dome, the mirrors begin to tilt. They angle inward, each catching a different sliver of your form, hand, eye, foot, breath. You are refracted into dozens of selves. One of them smiles. It is not your smile. The voice returns. The child with the cracked skull saw what it should not. We left it gifts. The others buried them. You've unburied more than just glass. You try to speak. The words don't form. Your throat is dry and filled with moss. Real moss. It's growing now, slowly curling from the collar of your shirt like a secret being whispered by the earth. You are not decaying. You are being invited. One of the masks drifts toward you. It's smaller than the others, delicate, made of polished seed shell and resin shaped like a human face, but it isn't. The eyes are too low. The mouth just a spiral. It stops inches from your cheek, turns slowly, and presses itself against you. It's cold, then warm, then gone. You can still feel it. You reach for the mirrors again, but they're no longer on the floor. They are inside you. You feel their hum in your chest now, the left side warm, the right side still and cool. Some things the voice says must be seen twice. The dome vanishes. You are back in your room. The fan is still spinning. Your hands are clean. The mirrors are gone. But the desk has spiral scratches in its surface now, like tiny claws dragged over the wood in careful concentric arcs. Outside your window, something moves among the trees. Not walking, just waiting. Because now the reflection isn't just behind glass, it's behind you. Tonight the wind speaks in a language you almost recognize. It rustles the leaves with the rhythm of breath and syllable never forming full words, but you understand the intent. It is not warning you away. It is coaxing you closer. Not all hauntings scream. Some merely wait with the quiet patience of sediment-forming stone. You wake to find a spiral drawn on your ceiling. Charcoal ash. It rubs off like memory. You didn't do it, but it's your handprint smeared beside it and your fingernails are blackened. You look down at your chest. Still that faint warmth on the left, that steady cold on the right. You no longer ask if the mirrors are truly gone. You just wonder how long they've been with you. The room has shifted again. Not its shape, but its rules. You close the curtains, but moonlight still seeps in. You unplug the fan, but it continues to hum. You hide the mirror scratches under a book, but they reappear on the floor beneath your feet. And the reflection. It no longer waits for glass. It visits wherever you look too long. You catch it in spoons and window smudges in the sheen of your laptop screen. The same scene, a spiral room, masks overturned, and that small creature head bowed, arms curled like a sleeping child. But now, it moves. Just a little. Each time a little more. Here's your joke for the moment you're being haunted by an extinct species with a flair for interior design. Paleo-Gothic minimalism, all earth tones, ceremonial bone piles, and trauma. You don't laugh because you know what's coming next. You feel it long before it happens. The mask appears in your hallway, not floating, just there, leaning gently against the baseboard like it's been placed, as if someone who knows your house intimately left it just out of reach. It's the same spiral-mouthed face that touched you in the dream. You do not touch it. You sweep around it. You breathe shallowly as you pass. You try to forget. It's back the next morning, balanced perfectly in the center of your kitchen table. Beside it, a child's footprint in fine, pale ash. You live alone. There's an ancient creature called Sidipati osmolskai, a type of oviraptorid believed by many to have been one of the earliest species to exhibit brooding behavior. Fossils have been found curled protectively around eggs' wings spread wide like guardians caught mid-shelter. Some scholars suggest the pose was a final act of defense. Others believe it was ritual, a sacred stillness. Some researchers still argue whether death mid-brood was an accident or an offering. You remember that now. Because the mask isn't just a symbol, it's a face offered in place of something else. You begin to see more footprints. On the stairs. By the sink. In the frost on your bathroom mirror. Always small. Always spiraled. One night you open your closet and a nest has formed inside. Twigs, bark, hair, feathers that glint faintly blue like moonlight remembered on water. At its center, a third mirror. This one is fractured, spider-webbed, with lines that pulse when you breathe. You reach for it not because you want to, but because some part of you remembers what this is. This is the gift you were never meant to receive. It is the mirror that breaks not to reflect, but to reveal. You lift it. You see your childhood bedroom. You see yourself much younger, much smaller. Arranging rocks in a circle on the floor, 6 years old. Maybe calling it a dinosaur nest. You'd forgotten that. The memory catches in your throat. But standing in the corner of the room, barely visible in the blur of time, is a shape. Feathered. Watching. Not with malice. With care. You drop the mirror. It doesn't shatter. Instead, it climbs a ripple of glass, lifting upward like steam, reforming midair into the mask once more. It faces you, and it bows. You don't speak, you can't. You understand. The mirrors were never for you. You were just the next reflective surface. The next smooth skin they could reach through. A vessel not of haunting, but of continuation. You were the nursery floor, and something was buried in you. The mask vanishes. The nest in your closet turns to dust. The spiral on your ceiling fades at dawn. But the hum remains. The warmth in your chest. The stillness in your right hand. The sense that something curls within you, now feathered and dreaming. You wait. Because this is not the end. And because something very small is about to hatch. The final morning is the quietest yet. Not peaceful, just expectant. The kind of hush that comes before a performance, or a birth, or the reappearance of something you never quite buried right. Light moves strangely in your room. Dust hangs longer in the air. The fan no longer spins, but you can still hear it, a soft rhythm now, indistinguishable from your own breath. The mirrors are gone, all three. But when you blink, their shapes remain behind your eyelids. Not after images. Instructions. Left warm, right cool, center broken but awake. You try not to look at any surface that might reflect, but you don't have to. Now the images come when your eyes are closed. A room of earth, a nest of circles, a mask pressed gently to your face in the dark. Today there are footprints across your bed sheets, three-toed. lighter than breath. They don't lead in or out, just spiral inward, stopping precisely where your chest rested in the night. That's where it's growing now. Not a parasite, not a haunting, a memory, one that doesn't belong to you. Here's your joke for this final stretch. Congratulations, you're now the proud host of an extinct behavioral patterns. Symptoms may include spiral dreams, ritual humming, and sudden mirror-based nesting. You sit on the edge of the bed. You breathe in the silence. Outside, the wind has stopped. Inside, the warmth is stronger than ever. A low glow centered just beneath your ribs. You lift your shirt. There's nothing to see, no marks, no signs, but you know. You remember how the hatchlings were found curled unbroken together in death like dancers paused mid-step. You remember the fossil with the crushed skull and the tiny shard of mirror embedded within. You remember the dome, the rotating masks, the phrase whispered by the voice of something not quite dead. Some things must be seen twice. You've begun to see thrice. Once in the past, once in yourself, and once more now when you close your eyes and see through. The spiral is no longer just a symbol. It is a way of moving through time. Not forward, not backward, inward. The nursery is beneath you. Always has been. Beneath your house. Beneath your room. Beneath the memory of who you were before you touched the first mirror. You go there one last time. No bag, no gloves, no camera. Just yourself. The trees bend slightly as you pass. Not in greeting now, but in deference. The mound is unchanged, but the air has thickened. It tastes like petrichor and feather dust, the smell of earth that has memorized birth. You kneel. The soil parts easily. The center of the spiral is soft, pulsing faintly like breath. You don't dig. You listen, and the voice returns, not as wind, not as echo, but as a song, ancient and wordless, humming through the ground. The sound of a species remembering itself. And you now are the reflection. The mask appears before you, drifting up from the soil like smoke. This time it does not watch. It does not speak. It mirrors. Your breath, your posture, your stillness. It leans forward and vanishes into your chest. There is no pain, only warmth, only light, only the feeling of being watched not by a predator, not by a ghost, but by 100 tiny lives that never got to finish their spiral. Lives that now circle gently within you, waiting for the right moment to speak again, waiting for the next surface, waiting for someone else to listen. You are not haunted, you are held. And somewhere in the corner of your room, though you will never find it by looking, another mask now hangs smiling faintly in the dark. You are still, and the spiral continues. You are walking in your room again weeks later, unsure of what changed. The lights hum a little softer. The mirrors fog a little faster. Your breath curls in circles without your asking. And each night before sleep takes you, you feel the tug, not fear, not pain. Just a gentle reminder that somewhere beneath you a story still lives. It is not waiting to be told. It is waiting to be heard. Sometimes you speak aloud in the dark, testing the silence. Sometimes it answers not with words, but with rustling leaves, flickering screens, or the cool imprint of a spiral across your skin. You no longer flinch. You no longer try to forget. Because you were never meant to remember this. You were meant to carry it forward. A nursery beneath the floor. A ghost mirror that never cracked. A face that doesn't reflect but remembers. And a hum that never quite leaves you, no matter how quiet the room becomes. The story doesn't end here. It just turns. Again, and again, and again,